The first time my mother told me that she loved me would be the last. It was a Friday, and we were together in her hospital room in Abuja, Nigeria. Mustering some strength, she turned her body towards mine, and she was quite frail then. And she looked at me, and there it was, those words. I love you. I froze. I didn't know what to say. I smiled, perhaps too weakly. Perhaps it was that I didn't have the habit to respond. For you see, in Nigeria, the parent-child relationship is not really that expresses itself that way. Or maybe I was still reeling from the effects of that fight. It was our first and our worst fight. That one where she called me names: whore, animal, useless, dog. Words that were very unusual for her, and there they were flung at me, each a dagger to my soul. A year after that fight, the diagnosis came: cancer, and it was terminal. So I had to swallow my pain. I had to be there for her. And with so much left unsaid, we moved on, neither one of us healing from the pain we were feeling. There we were, together. Later that Friday, she would board a plane to India for an emergency treatment, and I would return home to Geneva, where I was living at the time. But I had so much weighing on me. How could I find the word to express to my mother the pain that lingered from this fight? And how could I find the words to tell my mother just how much I loved her? And then there was this intuition. Why not write her? Something we never did before. And so I did. Allow me to share an excerpt of this email. At that point, she couldn't take calls. She had become so weak. I have it here. Dearest Mommy, it began. I realized I should have thought of writing you earlier. Writing, after all, is the only way I really know how to express myself. I've always been saddened by the events of last year, mostly because I realized just how little you knew me and I you. And the manifestation was regretful, but does not define us. Was simply the sad result of misunderstandings and not communicating, which resulted in a breakdown of the worst kind. But as when neither of us wants to live in the past, we moved on. However, what we forgot, though, was that the past has a way of catching up with us. We can't outrun it. Our only choice really is to face up to it and deal with it. This takes a lot of courage. I have prayed for this courage because I'm quite tired of running from the past, especially because it sabotages the present and the future. The present is where I live, and the future is what my heart dreams. I want to introduce you to the woman you formed. This is my one act of standing up to the past and welcoming the future with my mother. I love you, Chidiogo. My sister would later share that when she heard this mail read to her, she would cry. My mother never cried. 4 days later, I was in a ferry in Geneva, and a call came. It was from my sister. Chichi, Mommy Aungo. Mommy's dead. Time didn't slow down. It took on the texture of a farce. The sun continued to shine, and the ferry continued its steady glide on the lake. Life went on. I learned something so important, albeit in the face of death, in this experience. That voice of intuition that you hear, that one that says, write her that message, listen to it. I wondered of all the things that I'd always wanted to do but didn't find the courage to do. And I decided to step fully into my truth and live fully my truth. And this decision has led me to found my organization. It's called She Roars, supporting women to tap into the strength of this guidance and unleash their full potential. It's also led me to write a novel, and I knew just the story. It was the story of this woman that I called Mother, and millions called her the Iron Lady, the Amazon, Ugowemota, the Mirror of Wisdom, for the life that she lived that touched so many. In writing her story, I discovered the interconnectedness between hers and mine. And in uncovering this journey, that became a journey of my own uncovering identity. I saw how her stories was linked to the stories of those that came before her. It is the interconnectedness of Ubuntu. I am because you are. And I decide in this continuation of identities that is now the life that I'm occupying now to live it in truth. And that truth and connection to that intuition that is guided by all those that came before me. And to trust so deeply in that guidance. I recently wrote the last words of the novel, and it reads, "Dearest Mommy, Omo, it is I, Chichi. I love you so much. Thank you."